Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host, your Casual Dad, and today for our ultimate guide to Civ 7, we have 5 things you're doing with influence, or maybe not doing, that can either help or hurt you in your next game of Civ 7. And so we're going to jump right into that. I'm going to just go ahead and let you know what they are. And if you like these little tips and tricks to help you play better, make sure you hit that like button. And if you think Diplo is overpowered and they still haven't nerfed it properly, then hit a subscribe for that. But we're going to get right into it. Alright, the first one that we're going to do is about settling too close. And don't forget to stick around, because there's going to be one later that you're probably, I would guarantee, not paying attention to, and is killing your Diplo game. But the first one is settling too close, as I said. So we're going to take this example right here. We have good old Simon Boulevard settling really close to Constantinople. And I loaded up a game just so I had plenty of examples to show you guys. But if we're assuming this is the start of the game, this is your second or third city, it doesn't matter if you put the independent people on friendly or not. If you settle too close to them before friending them, when you go to look in here and you friend them, you're going to be back down here in the bottom left as hostile, whether you know it or not. Now, this may not matter so much in this instance because you are across the water, but if you really want to soothe them, well, guess what? Now you've just doubled the time to soothe them instead of just waiting to have the influence. Hit them up first and then settle down. But here's a good example, because this actually happened in this game and I had to friend them back. I settled too close to Pagan. Fortunately, this is just a small little bit of land to get over here. But if this was more like over here, Mora Jambi, then my city that I settled too close to them is just going to get hit over and over. They're going to be friendly or hostile, it doesn't matter, and they're just going to attack me. And that's just going to be a drain on resources early in the game, all right? So you're settling too close, probably, without being friends. And there's a second part to this. Also to the AI, not just the independent people, but the AI. And so not only do you want to be friendly with the independent people trying to snag up those lovely resources like these dates and horses, but also to the AI. If you have not paid attention, when the AI sells too close to you, it triggers a notification over here, and you also get some influence, just a whole host, and it changes each age how much influence you get when they settle too close to you. And so if you're going to come down here like I did for Baghdad early in the last age, is I went to Catherine and I tried to be friends with her, you know. So, well, we're at war right now, but that's fine. So I came in here and I made sure to look at my relationship, and I wanted it to be around 15 to 20 minimum, because when you settle too close, it gets a -20. And then you see here, once they grow enough and they are touching borders, it's a permanent -10. So you really want to be planning out and thinking ahead of my independent people and the AI. There's a video of me doing a Mina. I got too close to Ibn Battuta because there were some lovely resources that I was just a little greedy to get without waiting to friend him, and it caused some problems. Moving on to point 2, using your influence too fast and not saving it in the early game. And what do I mean by that? I mean, as soon as you meet people and they start rolling in those offers, you're clicking left, right, center. Oh, I want that extra food, that extra happiness, combat strength, science, culture, all those things. Now, I'm not saying don't ever do them. I'm saying, like, you need to hold off and slow down, which seems a little counterintuitive, but the reason is influence is very hard to accumulate, especially in the antiquity age, regardless of what you're doing. So you have to conserve it in the early game, because maybe you do want to put that city site down, like I was talking about in the last point, but it's near independent people, and you don't want to turn them into Eurasian barbarians and drain your gold and stuff trying to keep that city alive and slow down your growth. So the way I usually approach it, and we'll just take this for example. So Appalachia used to be Simone's. So I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, cool. I have Catherine and I have Simone next to me. I see their borders. I'm doing really good scouting. So I'm going to send that 10-point friendly introduction to automatically get them friends. It's cheap and it helps me out because they are so close. Now, as the game goes on and I see Harriet Tubman's pretty far away, I'm probably not sending to her. Definitely in the exploration age. I'm not, if I need that 10 for something, if I'm really close to something I really want more, I'm not sending it to the new guys over in the new world that I meet. I can just be friends with them later whenever I have merchants. Merchants do a whole lot to help be friends. So I'm not using that. Same thing for when they send proposals. I know Catherine and Ada, they like to send those science and culture proposals because that's what kind of leader they are. The military leaders will send you the proposals to get combat strength, happiness, things like that. And just make sure, this goes back to a previous video, make sure you focus on your plan and you work your plan. Don't be so gung-ho to just support everything. Accept it, sure, but don't be so gung-ho to support absolutely everything, because then you're not going to have the Diplo you need when you need it. Because there could be sometimes when they're angry and upset with you and they're trying to denounce you to go to war. If you don't have that Diplo saved up to stop that relationship from decreasing or being able to do certain other things to help increase it very quickly, you're going to be in trouble. And so don't waste your Diplo, okay? Just save it, make sure you're in a good, stable position, and then go out and do what you want to do it. I'm not even saying sues all the independent people, which personally I think you should, because that is just the most obvious, best way to play, is to get as many sues as possible. But sometimes that slows down because you've got extra aggressive AI, which is fine. That makes every game different and it makes it fun. So just stockpile a little bit. Don't rush out to just give it away, okay? And you'll be doing miles better because you'll be able to respond appropriately in whatever you want to do. All right, and point 3 builds off of point 2. Make sure you have your extended ribbon on, and I would even suggest getting the UI mod. What the information that you get here is super helpful. And this point is send out your requests when it's good for you. Okay, so we've already talked about not settling too close and not spending your Diplo too fast. Now let's talk about when do we spend it and how do we decide what to spend it on, okay? So for me, it's pretty simple. I'm going to spend it first on getting all the relevant city-states to help me, get those free texts and civics, or the lapis lazuli for the extra production, or combat strength if I need to defend myself, or whatever it may be. But if we're going on throughout the game, how do we go forward once those are all used in action? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the negative and then the positive. So if I was still into my Susing mode here when they declared war. That's why I do not have a whole lot of influence. Okay, but let's just assume, for the sake of understanding, that they're not at war with me. They're actually just they're mad at me. All right, and I want to try and flip them friendly, or at least friendlier, so they do not go to war with me. First off, when you reconcile, I've not seen them deny the reconciliation yet. That doesn't mean they won't, but I've sent over 100 reconciliation offers, and not a single time on deity, or even deity with the Roman holiday mod, have they denied it. So don't worry about the reconciliation. This is pertaining to all other offers. First off, as I mentioned before, merchants. Always send merchants to everybody. That gets you a nice little bonus. And if they're trending not so friendly, invest more merchants and more trade routes, which you have to do by doing Diplo. So improved trade routes in Exploration Age is 120. All right, that is well worth it. That 120 is the same as Reconciliation, but Reconciliation works over 10 turns. Okay, and it moves at 30, but the improved trade relations, you get an automatic 10 immediately. Okay, so yeah, it's not as good overall, but when you have 2 of these trade routes, that goes up to 20. So that 120 now actually makes it an extra 10. So it's almost as good total, but I find that it's actually even better because you get that immediate bump where if you had just Reconciliation, it's going to tick up over time. But if you do your trade route and or improve trade relations and then send a trade route, you immediately tick up by 10. Well, if you already had 10, or if you did not have 10, you send one trade route, then you send another trade route, you've got 20, and your Reconciliation is going to trend up and give you another 30. That's a plus 50, okay? I've seen them very few times deny the trade route improvement because they like the gold and stuff for their empire. What I'm talking about mostly are all the other options. So if I want to get open borders, but they're like Simone kind of unhappy, well, I notice he's going to probably denounce it, which then puts us in a negative territory. Means he could then attack me, and that's not great when I already have other people wanting to attack me or at war with me. So what do I need to do? I need to look on the ribbon bar every turn and see how much influence does he have. Okay, does he have enough to reject my proposal? Okay, and so this changes throughout the ages, so you kind of have to learn how those happen. But same thing for your endeavors. Okay, if Frederick here was mad at me, I would want to send him an endeavor this turn if possible. He does not have enough Diplo to deny it. All right, so even if he doesn't support it, if he doesn't deny it, this is going to cause, you can see here, relationship change if accepted, 5. Okay, each of these, except for Reconciliation, is 5. Okay, so if the more of these I can get going, the better. Obviously, if you can't do Reconciliation unless they're upset with you, like about to go to war with you. So don't worry about that one, but worry about all these others, okay? Trade first to get some immediate influence up or relationship up for cheap influence, and then watch. They can't deny everything, okay? So when they deny, you get your Diplo back so you can try again in 10 turns. The problem is when they do deny, you have to wait 10 turns, and then on the 11th turn you can try again. So that's why it's worth watching, because if I'm trying to get Simone friendly and I'm not watching, and just every time I send him something he's denying it, that's just going to actually make him hate me even faster. So you don't want to do that. Okay. Also, the reverse is true. Now it comes to positive. If I want somebody to support me and we're already kind of friendly, they can't support me if they don't have the Diplo. Okay, so Napoleon, we're going to assume I'm sitting around positive 20 or 30, and I'm about to go to war. I could really use some allies really quick. And I know he's already been sending me some endeavors. So I'm going to send some endeavors back. Well, how do I get him to not just accept it, but support it? You see there, relationship if change, or change if accepted, 5, but relationship change if supported, 12. That means each endeavor is the equivalent of sending one trade route. Okay, so if you wait for them to have a whole bunch of influence built up, they're already kind of friendly with you, and then you send them something that they like. So Napoleon's going to want, he's going to want to make his unit stronger. He's going to want, depending on which type he is, he's going to want certain things, gold, whatever. The problem with Napoleon is individually is that he can't reject endeavors for free. That's why you don't want him to get mad with you, is he'll just reject you no matter what. Okay, so you're going to want to always be friendly with Napoleon unless you're ready to take him out. That's just a side bar for him specifically. But any other leader, don't have to worry about that. So you need to just look to see what are they going to want. Probably pay attention to what offers are sending you. Whenever Ada or Catherine are in my game and they're sending me culture and science, once I have that extra Diplo and I want them friendly, I will send them, about 5 turns after they've sent me something, I'll send them something. And almost every time, if I'm paying attention and they have the Diplo, almost every time they support it, which then just makes our relationship grow that much faster. Okay, so now this has been a long section, but it's very important about paying attention to the Diplo and using it properly, okay, at the right time. All right, point 4, lowering your Diplo. Okay, Diplo is very hard to come by. That's why of all the ways that you could probably be playing wrong, this is one that has the most impact, but can also be fixed the easiest. Okay, so there's several different ways of lowering Diplo, but the one that happens a lot without people realizing is, excuse me, a little hiccup there, but having a little too much date wine, is raising a city. It doesn't matter if it's a city-state or another city. When you raise it, you have a malice for 10, 15 turns. Depends on your difficulty level, age, all that, okay, plays into effect. But if you're in the modern age, in the antiquity age, if you have only 10 Diplo per turn and you do something early in the game, like clear a barb camp, not barb camp, but they're acting like a barb camp, the independent peoples, you're going to lose 4 per turn. Well, now you're down to 6. You've lost 40% of your production in the early game when it's most critical. Okay. Same thing for a city that you take from somebody. Unless it's in your way, if it's a really poorly placed city, like for instance, if I were to take this city, I would probably raise it because I'm going to seize this guy and then let him grow out big, right? Raising a city is really bad. So don't do it unless you have to. Don't do it unless you're doing a world conquest type of deal and you're just like 10 over your limit and you're just like, okay, I got to do something. Because if you're doing war, then Diplo doesn't really matter, right? But if you're just trying to be peaceful and do other things, and you're having that one-off defensive war or attacking independent people because you sailed too close, don't raise them, okay? Because that is going to hurt your Diplo tremendously. And also it's going to lower your opinion with everybody, which then means you've got to spend extra Diplo to get that opinion back up. So just don't raise cities unless it's absolutely required. If it's a raging barbarian, just put some defensive up, gather that XP, and be done. Same thing for your enemies. If you really don't want to acquire a city, like I'm at war with Catherine, I'm just going to sit here with the front line and they're going to crash into me, and I'm going to heal up in my land faster. I'm going to be more defensive. She's going to waste resources while I'm still building up my empire. I'm getting experience for my commanders, and then when we peace out, I don't have anything to worry about for raising or whatnot. All right. So don't raise unless absolutely necessary. All right. Last one. And this one, I think people don't really take into account. But when you go to do espionage and you get caught, okay, it tells you, but people don't pay attention. It tells you the penalty for getting revealed. Okay, you lose certain amounts of Diplo per turn for 10 turns. Okay, so this is basically some of these are less, like military infiltration is less, but the still tech is still government secrets. They're essentially the same as paying for a city-state that once you have the half-price city-state attribute. Okay, so that's a lot of Diplo. Okay, not only do you pay 160, to do it, but then you have to pay another 160 if you get revealed. Okay, and so then that causes problems because everybody's like, oh, you spied, and then that causes you to spend more. Okay, I know stealing is great to get ahead. Okay, and the turns, I don't care that they've extended the turns in some updates. It always seems to me that this doesn't complete until about turn 20. Okay, so my recommendation is focus all your Diplo on all of the independent people, because if you can get a science and a culture state 1-2, or maybe you get an economic 1-1, then culture and city 2-3, and you're playing on a pretty large map, and you explore well and you get there before all the other guys, you're gonna have, anywhere from 3 to 6 free techs and civics. Okay, and so what does that do to you? Okay, let's just look at the tree. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14. Okay, we have 14 main techs and some masteries, right? So probably it looks like we have 25 total besides future tech. All right, so if you can get just say 5 free techs, 5 free civics, something thereabouts, that's 20% of the tree that you did not have to research. That you're just that faster, far ahead. Now, it doesn't exactly work out that way because sometimes it's very annoying, but it will go ahead and give you something you're already working on, and nothing's more frustrating than you're 2 turns from something and you sue something and you get it for free. That is so frustrating, trust me. But in general, it's still the best thing to do, is sues the culture in science city-states only steal if you don't have the city-states to give you those free techs, or you're just mega behind and there's no other way to catch up because you are doing a war campaign. Okay, in which case you probably don't care about the Diplo, but even war, you still got to care about Diplo some for that war bonus. Okay, that's, I should have mentioned that with the wasting your Diplo. If you go to war and you don't have the Diplo to give yourself some advantage, you're gonna be hurting. Okay, so those are our 5 major ways that you can improve your Diplo game that improves your overall Civ game, both offensively and defensively. So if you've enjoyed that simple, little, concise 5-point list, easy to remember, make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to know more tips and tricks to play better in Civ 7, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Civ 7 Ultimate Guide. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. This has been your Casual Dad. We've been giving you a guide to improve your Civ 7 ability. I'm going to go take some medicine now to clear this throat. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.